He's not really good at any.
Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access Breaking News Edition. We actually broke this news while we were live on the last stream, and I wanted to kind of wrap everything up and get back in here so we can have an actual conversation about this hiring. And, of course, we're talking about Jonathan Gannon being hired as the Packers' new defensive coordinator. I don't think it surprises anyone. I think it's safe to say that most of us, this was not our first choice, but Jeff Hafley was not anybody's first choice either. So we all need to take that into consideration, myself especially, because I know there's going to be instant reaction of people freaking out over this, just like they were with Jeff Hafley. That worked out great. Now, you got two sides to Jonathan Gannon, obviously, the defensive coordinator of Jonathan Gannon, and then you've got the head coach, Jonathan Gannon. Which one will we get? Time will tell. We'll talk about the experience he brings to the table. We'll talk about where his defense ranked in Philly his final year there with the Eagles and everything in between. The main thing we want is everyone's opinion that jumps into the chat. We'll allow everybody to fill in here, but we've got poll questions up on X. We got poll questions here on YouTube asking, how do you feel about this hire? I've got Jacob, I got Tim joining me here. Before we get into it, if you would, do that YouTube stuff, guys. Hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, the Breaking News Edition, welcome. Thank you for making us part of your festivities as the Packers have a new DC. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We are fans just like you, breaking it down on the daily, talking Packers 365 days a year. That's the type of content you're looking for. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and make sure you got that bell icon highlighted so you get notified every time we go live in the future. So, gentlemen, let's start it off going around the horn. I know we got some comments already rolling through as well. I want to get everybody's take in the chat. And super chats, obviously, we will make sure we hit all those. And I'm going to try to get the chat very, very involved here. Let's start with you, Tim. How do you feel about the Jonathan Gannon hire before we dive into the numbers, before we kind of take a detailed approach to this? How do you feel about this, man?
I feel good. I really do. You know, at least we know. We made a decision. We went with experience. And optimistic. I feel good and I feel optimistic. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say this is a slam dunk and we know for sure that, you know, everything's going to work out and be hunky-dory, but I feel really good about this hire. You know, as bad as, you know, I think there was a part of me that would have liked to seen Jim Leonhard get an interview, and maybe we'll, you know, wait this out another couple of days. I also really respect the organization for getting this done. Apparently, Jonathan Gannon was interviewed Friday, and we have a decision here on Sunday. So I'm glad that the Packers, you know, put their best foot forward and made a decision. And now we can see how he's going to formulate this staff. You know, who's going to remain in Green Bay on this defensive staff, who's going to be some new faces we're going to see. And I tell you, the Super Bowl window's open, and there's nothing wrong with going with experience over, you know, a first-year DC type of hire. So I, for one, like it, and I'm optimistic. That's how I feel right now.
Jacob, how you feel about it, man?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of echo Tim's statement there. Like, you know, this we talked about it literally on the previous podcast, where it's like, you know, is this our number one pick? Not necessarily, but we do look at the credentials that are with him, and I mean, having three different basically head coaches that are on our coaching staff is a benefit in my eyes. And I think that Jonathan Gannon is going to bring a lot of experience. He's going to bring a lot of knowledge, might even bring a couple players. We don't know. We haven't seen how that comes to fruition yet. Right. And so, yeah, I'm hopefully optimistic, and that's all you can be at this time of year. Like, you know, we're not getting on here saying that like this is going to be like Tim said, a slam dunk. We don't know if it's going to be in the trash. It's somewhere in between. And I really do think, though, that between him and Matt LaFleur, that they have a young, kind of upbeat type of coaching staff, and let's go. Let's see what we get out of this. All right.
Absolutely. And the poll question that we got up, again, we want to hear from all the fans over on X and on YouTube, wherever you're watching at. Packer fans, how do you feel about the Jonathan Gannon hire? I gave you 4 options. Love it, it's okay, could have done better, or hate it. All right. Those are the 4 options. You get the same thing here in YouTube. Let's go to the comments real quick, see what the chat's saying. Nick McSwain says, I don't care what anyone says. I'm pumped. Defensive coordinator. Oh, sorry. That's not the bottom there. He says, I'm pumped. So GPAC 5140 says, let me get this off the screen, man. That is messing with me. I don't know which one I'm reading. I need a hug, but I felt the same way with Hafley. See, that's an honest take right there. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing here. Like when we hired Jeff Hafley, I was going, man, he wasn't at the top of my who. I did the Snoop is what I did. I did the who? Who's Jeff? What are we doing here? And boy, did that work out. Again, if there's anything we learned, Matt LaFleur is starting to press in towards defensive back-minded defensive coordinators, and it worked great with Hafley. Hopefully it works out here with Jonathan Gannon as well. And if you need a hug, man, sorry, bro. We can't hug you through the podcast. Just the way. Packer Doug says, exactly, Nick. Not my first choice, but hardly a weak pick. A guy who's done well as a DC and has head coach experience. That's a solid find. That's what I was telling the guys here offline. I think think about this. Whether you like Rich Bisaccia or not, he has interim head coach experience. Matt LaFleur, obviously been head coach. I think he's one of the longest tenured head coaches in the league now, which is wild to think about. And then Jonathan Gannon has been a head coach. Also, take it a layer further, and you've got 3 former defensive coordinators on your defensive staff. As it sits right now, they may get poached. We'll see. But the way it sits right now, your new DC is Jonathan Gannon, who was one of the best defensive coordinators in Philadelphia in the league there back in 2022 when he was with Philadelphia. You've got Derek Ansley, who is a defensive coordinator for the Chargers, and you've also got DeMarcus Covington, who was the defensive coordinator for the Patriots. So you got a bunch of guys in place that can give you multiple angles, multiple viewpoints for Matt LaFleur. And what do we always say with Matt LaFleur? Like I've been vocal saying we need a coach's coach. We need someone in here to help coach Matt, right? Well, he's surrounding himself with a bunch of people who's had a lot of experience at high levels, to be honest with you. You know, the reality is Jonathan Gannon is more experienced at this job than Jeff Hafley was. And what I mean by that, Jeff Hafley had never been a defensive coordinator in the National Football League. So you've got a guy that's coming in who's got more experience as a DC, and I think that's very, very important. So completely agree with you, Packer Doug.
And I agree with your point, Clay. You know, you are who you surround yourself with, right? You are the sum of the people you surround yourself with. And when you're, you know, like I said, Super Bowl windows open, you got to surround yourself with the right people to get over the hump. And I think this is going to prove to be a step in that direction going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Jacob, what do you think about having that many DCs in-house like that, dude?
I love it. You know, I'm looking at the chat here. It seems like there's some mixed opinions for sure about what this hire means and what that means to go forward. Yeah, we're getting a lot of them flying in right now. I'm not going to sit here and be negative. Like that's not obviously what we do on this podcast. And for anything, like we should just understand that to your credit, what you said about Hafley, it's like, we don't know what we have until we see it on paper, until we see the stats, until we see once the rubber meets the road type thing. Right. So I'm willing to have an open mind. And if anything, I want a guy that has more experience, that knows what it takes to lead a locker room, to lead a team of grown men, you know what I'm saying? And necessarily was that position and all the players that he was coaching in Arizona, like, was that exactly what was the best thing we can see out of this type of coach? Like, I don't think that's fair to say. So maybe we see he comes back. It changes scenery can do a lot. We've seen that for so many different players, especially like with the free agents that we sign. We get them over here and all of a sudden they kind of resurge their career, right? So like, let's maybe see if we can give this guy just a bit of grace and let's give him 4 games. All right. After 4 games, after that, like, all right, if we want to start going, just,
that's a damn shame. That's where we're at. That's where we're at as fans.
Yeah, and it is though. Yeah. You get 4. I mean, that's NFL. What we always say, the NFL stands for what, Tim?
Not for long.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave C in the chat says Gannon had a good defense in Philly when he had the players. I think we have the players, so let's see what happens, right? You got to bolster that cornerback room a little bit, Dave, right? I think we would all agree with that. But, man, having Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams on the backside, you got Micah Parsons up front. Devontae Wyatt should be healthy. You got Edgerrin Cooper in the middle. We'll see if Quay returns or if they try to upgrade that position a little and how everything kind of falls into place. I think it's going to be fun. Go Pack 53 140 says does he become our assistant head coach? That's a great question. I don't think so. I don't think you need to make him the assistant head coach. I think Rich Bisaccia will stay the head. Listen, I know there's some fans that want him gone. I get it. But it has been widely reported from everyone that's in and around the building there that covers the Packers that everybody in the building loves Rich Bisaccia. Everybody.
Yep.
Players, coaches, everybody. They all love Rich Bisaccia. So now, is Rich Bisaccia a great special teams coordinator? You guys know my opinion. I've made that very vocal, right? That I feel like we don't build a roster to have a strong special teams. It's not just this year. It's not just Goody. That's been the whole Ted Thompson, Ron Wolf tree. They've never built around special teams. And people will go, oh, we had great special teams and we won in 96. Yeah. They went and signed Desmond Howard, which nobody was raving that this is the thing that's going to send them over the top. He blew up. And what they do the year, I think it was either the next year or 2 years later, they let him go. They didn't sign him back. Right. So
Andre Rison was a special teams contributor too. Yep.
So it's like they don't put a whole lot of focus in special teams when they're building the bottom half of their roster. I think it has more to do with that. Now, with that being said, if you want to bring in another special teams coordinator, keep Rich Bisaccia the assistant head coach, that's great for the culture. That's great for the team that, obviously it's been reported that they love him. I'm okay with that too. The special teams needs to get better. Absolutely. You know what else needs to get better? The offense. You know what else? The defense. You know what else? The coaches. You know what else? The execution on the field. The players get everything. Yep. Goody needs to be – everybody needs to be better in the building, right? But you've got this 3-year window open to go on a Super Bowl run. You better get some veterans in or you're going to continue to have these mental mistakes no matter who the coordinator is, in my opinion. So,
I like Nick McSwain's comment here. It says, firing Bisaccia won't accomplish anything. Before he came to Green Bay, he was considered one of the best special team coaches in the league. It's not a coaching issue.
Absolutely. Completely agree with it.
I agree with that, man.
So like I said, we'll see how that shakes out here moving forward. Let's go here to Tony Holman in the chat. Says only time will tell. He has a decent track record prior to Arizona. We're going to talk about that here in a second. I just want to get your all's voices out here real quick. Cheesehead Burr said, I'm with you, Doug. I am curious too. Again, I don't think anybody's going, oh, slam dunk hire, home run hire. But like Murph's saying is like, hey, let's go in with an open mind here. They obviously see something in him. And I don't want to hear this Matt LaFleur doesn't know how to hire people because he's the one who handpicked Jeff Hafley out of all of those college coaches, out of all the NFL candidates, and nobody was on Jeff Hafley. So
scared money don't make money.
That's right. So Matt's not a perfect head coach, but he's proven to me that he knows how to hire. I mean, and again, if you want to say, well, everybody else was a bad hire other than Jeff Hafley, okay, let's go ahead and, steer around the actual conversation. J. Cole says, are people upset because he punched a player? And one Packer fan would say, we are soft and don't hold players accountable. Now we hire Gannon, and it's the worst hire ever. I don't agree with the punch. I didn't even know he punched a player. That's pretty wild. I did see.
It wasn't a punch. It was, I think he had a player that did a boneheaded play, and he basically gave him a little chest shove. And it was like, you got to be smarter than that. And honestly, like to his point, it's like, that's what I want out of my coach. I want a guy that's going to rile someone up and say, you made a mistake. Get your head out of your butt and let's go out there and go away. You know what I mean? And I think that player obviously, I think that player said afterwards that like he wouldn't take offense to it. It's a coach coaching. It's hard coaching. That's what I would prefer.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of fans would agree that maybe this team needs. The piss needs to be a little hotter, especially on the defensive side of the ball, right?
Yeah, that's what we heard all year long, Tim. These coaches are too soft. Matt LaFleur is too soft. Yeah. And not Jay's not doing this, right? He's saying you don't agree with the punch, but he's just giving his opinion. I'm saying I'm sure there's a portion of the fan base now. He punched a play. What do we want? Do we want someone to be kind of aggressive? We want someone to be that, it's just like with the players. They got criticized because they didn't defend Jordan Love. And the offensive line didn't go out and commit a penalty to send a message. The second those players would have done that, the fans would have been all over their ass. What a stupid thing. They've been Quay Walker all over again, right? Remember when his rookie year, they were ready to run him out of town. So, again, man, nothing's ever going to be perfect. But I would rather have a tactician than someone who's going to lead with emotion and try to motivate people. Like, I've never subscribed to you having to motivate another grown-ass man. That's just me personally. Like, if I have to motivate somebody, I need to find somebody else to do the job. You're not what I'm looking for.
You know what I want out of my coach right now is what did the five fingers say to the face?
Slap. There you go. She said, Murph says, I'm cool with it. I just think of the tenure in Arizona, and I wasn't impressed, but he had the Eagles looking good prior to that. Let's go. And he did. You're right, Murph. Yep. Arizona was not pretty. It was not, man. You're spot on there, dude. Completely agree with everything.
He didn't have a whole hell of a lot to work with out there in AZ, though.
Yeah, Trey McBride. That was about it.
Yeah, there you go. Doug Fox says, thanks, PTA, for the positive reporting on and entertainment. Thanks for living your own way. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate you, man. We try to, if we see it, we say it, right? That's our rule. If you see it, you got to say it. If it's something we disagree with, but hey, it's so obvious that it's real, it's legit, it's true, we're going to talk about it. But we do try to look at things through the lens half full. And listen, I understand our numbers are not going to do as good as those other people that are probably live right now that are acting like the world is on fire, right? Like that's what steers people. They will watch that. I remember him over. Let me give you a perfect example. Did y'all see Stephen A. Smith stick his foot in his mouth the other day? Had no clue what he was talking about. Said that nobody's talking about this coach. Oh, that's perfect. Tim. Nobody's talking about this specific coach, and he's the reason this defense has done well. And everybody on the internet was like, does he know he hasn't coached that team since week 2? Right. Now, again, why do people tune in? Because he's going to say – I'm about to say a bad word. He's going to say some stupid stuff like that, and he's going to try to give you an overly emotionally charged opinion, and that draws eyeballs in. Right? That's just the way it is. If I put Stephen A. Smith in the title of my video on YouTube, they run rampant. They go crazy because people want to know what's this knucklehead saying now. And the same thing goes for the doom and gloomers out there, obviously. So J.O. Walker said, does Stephen A. put his foot in his mouth every day? Allegedly. That is correct. So,
allegedly.
All right, let's talk about what Jonathan Gannon did in Philadelphia. Okay, now you guys can find this over in Patreon. I took the old article where we broke down his background and just added to it and removed a couple of the tweets that was attached to it as well. You guys can find this at patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. It's the best way to support what we do here at PTA. The group is growing like crazy over there. The draft coverage is going ballistic. Everybody's loving the prospect reports and all that good stuff. It's going to be really, really good time to jump in and get the draft coverage for sure. So we talked about earlier today his playing career, his early coaching, him as an NFL assistant and then coordinator, and obviously as a head coach. We've had his numbers with the Arizona Cardinals. We covered that earlier. You guys can go watch the live stream for earlier. I edited the video out where we had instant reaction to that as well when the news broke. We broke down their coverage scheme too. Now, I don't have the coverage scheme from him in Philly, but we pointed out that he played a lot of cover 4 in Arizona. Doesn't mean he's going to do it here, but that's the best likely scenario, right? 25% cover 4, 27% cover 3, 14% cover 2, 15% cover 1 man, and then minimal across the board. The big change we see from him and Hafley, probably going to see significantly less cover 6 and a little bit more cover 4, okay? Now, let's talk about where they ranked in Philly when he was the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2022, okay? So to the best of my knowledge, I've got these numbers lined up right. This is from the 2022 season, and here is what Philly ranked, okay? So let's start with scoring defense. Points per play allowed, they finished 4th in the league at .306, okay? Coming down the stretch there as they went on that playoff run, right? .304. So his last 3 games of the season, they actually were playing even better than the 4th best defense there in the league, where they were ranked. So scoring defense, points per play allowed, Jonathan Gannon had the Philadelphia Eagles ranked 4th. Total defense, yards per play allowed, all right? They were ranked 7th, I believe it was. Now, if I got the wrong thing up there, definitely ranked 7th. I just got the wrong screen grab. So in total defense, they are ranked 7th. And yards per play allowed, and they were tied for 7th. I do remember that. All right. Passing defense, yards per pass attempt allowed, they were 9th, all right, in the league at 6.1 yards per pass attempt allowed. So a top 10 passing defense right there, actually tied with Green Bay that year. And then run defense, yards per rush attempt allowed, they finished 11th, all right, at 4.2 yards. They were tied with Green Bay that year as well. Okay, so 4.2 yards per rush attempt allowed. Takeaways per game, I think we would all agree, is a huge, huge factor here. They were 10th in the league in takeaways in 2022, tied with New England at 1.3 takeaways per game. And you'll notice Green Bay finished that year at 0.9. This year, we finished somewhere around that 25th spot as well. So
I was just going to say, this makes me feel good about that, right? I think a lot of us saw the dip in takeaways this year from this defense, as well as they played this season, despite injuries and everything they dealt with. The takeaways just were not there. So I'm looking forward to a change in the right direction here.
And isn't that crazy, Tim, because of the ball king? Like, we thought going in, like, and I'm not throwing no shade at anyone or anything like that, but it's like, it was weird that we emphasize seemingly the fact that we were going to take the ball away. I remember, if you guys remember, we were talking about how we were going to break the record for the amount of takeaways, and then it just didn't happen. And I'm wondering, like, why that execution didn't happen. So like I said, man, I'm open to this opportunity. And I think that, like, a change of pace again is just something that we shouldn't frown at. You know what I mean? Like, this is an opportunity every single time. Like, life changes so fast, right? Like, in every single aspect of your life changes so fast. Let's be positive. Let's think that something could happen that's going to be, maybe we're the Bears of this year, where even if we get them, like, all the turnovers that aren't even justified, which the Bears never, was just the worst. You know what I mean? Like, they just got lucky, and the ball started going their way, literally. So, like, let's maybe think in that aspect.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point. I think it's a very fair point. Going to the chat here, seeing what everybody says. Trade 541 says, can he bring Calais Campbell? Is that where Calais was? Was he in Arizona last?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he played good, dude.
We were talking about signing him 2 years ago, and everybody's, he's too old. Tim, he just goes out there and gets it.
He's one of them dudes, man.
He's
just
Bobby
like
Wagner.
Yeah, exactly. You read my mind. Fountain of youth, right? Guy will play until he's, walking around with a cane and stuff. So, and Calais Campbell is that dude, right? I mean, I would welcome that guy in Green Bay very easily, and he would fit right in up here. Stand-up guy, and still a damn good football player, despite getting ready to collect Social Security here any day now. But hey, I've heard worse ideas, right? You never know. We need some help in the middle of that D line, don't we?
Absolutely, man. It wouldn't hurt. And again, it would have been great the last few years, that's for sure. Although I will say about Colby Wooden, man, that's one I've really got my eye on this year.
Yeah, the general.
He impressed me in run defense last year. He really did, man. His run defense was a lot better than people give him credit for. Run stops. I mean, he was all over the joint. Now, is he a pass rusher? He's not a very effective pass rusher, but he's also playing that touch spot, playing the A-gap, playing shades. So it's like you're not asking him to get after the quarterback often, right?
Yep.
You want that 3-tech to do that, obviously. So hopefully Devontae Wyatt's healthy by week 1 as well. But, yeah, I'll be on board with that trade with Calais. Mike, super fan. What's up, Mike? He says, what do you think the reason is for not waiting to at least talk to Leonard, or maybe they did? Mike, I was thinking about this earlier this morning. I'm thinking, is this Leonard thing really going to happen? I was getting excited about it, because that's, you guys know, I made no bones about it. That had become one of my top choices, right? I would have preferred Jim Leonard over Jonathan Gannon, although somebody asked us on the morning show, since it's a kind of a win now philosophy, the window's open, who's best suited for that? And I had to succeed. Like, hey, man, yeah, it's probably Jonathan Gannon, because he's got head coaching experience. But I was thinking, okay, he's the passing game coordinator, assistant head coach. Vance Joseph is probably going to get a head coaching job, right? If he does, then to the best of my knowledge, Denver can promote Jim Leonard, right, to DC. So maybe they did ask him, right? Like as Mike is saying here, that maybe they did talk to him, right? Well, they did have, I'm sure they communicated with him, because again, it got leaked out of the Packers front office that they were very, very interested in him, right? So maybe they called Jim Leonard, maybe they talked to Jim Leonard in a virtual interview that didn't get reported, and Jim Leonard told him, "Hey, man, if Vance gets a job, then I'm going to be the DC here." Maybe he said that, right? Maybe he wanted to be the DC there along with Sean Payton, who gave him an opportunity to get into the NFL coaching ranks. So this is all speculation. I'm just kind of unraveling everything as we go. So if that did happen, put yourself in Matt LaFleur's shoes. Put yourself in Ed Policy's shoes. Now you go, who's our second best choice, Matt? Who we want? Oh, we want Jonathan Gannon. You might lose him as you're waiting for all this to unfold. Because one thing's for sure, as we showed earlier, there's going to be at least 3 teams going after Leonard, right? There's going to be 3 teams going after Jim Leonard. So maybe this is them going, you know what? he could potentially be our first choice. We'd have to interview him first, but in the process, if we lose our number 2, that would suck. And then us interview him, and all of a sudden Vance Joseph gets a job, and he goes, "Oh, you know what? I want to stay in Denver anyway." Jonathan Gannon goes somewhere else. Maybe Jonathan Gannon told him too, "Hey, I'm going to take this job if y'all don't hire me soon. Like, this is something that's going to, pass me up here." Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Like you said, just spitballing ideas, right? Like, we don't have some inside track on this, but it makes a lot of sense to me. Why, and again, I applaud the Packers for, grabbing the bull by the horn and going and get, maybe he's not your first choice. You went and got your second one before he's off the board. I mean, it's just like draft day, right? Come on now. Mm-hmm. You have to make a decision. And, if you stand still too long, you're going to miss an opportunity to perhaps make a slam dunk hire. Like Jacob was saying, we don't know. We could be sitting here this time next year on Championship Sunday, getting ready to go to a Super Bowl because of this hire, for all we know. So I'm going to be optimistic for sure.
And you don't get to pause the game, right, Tim, and go, "Hey, we'll come back to this later." No, you got to make a decision now, right? Go ahead, Jim. What were you going to say, man?
No, that's just exactly what Mike just said in his comments here. It says Gannon was on a lot of teams' radar, is what I'll inject there. He said he wouldn't be there for long. That's what we're talking about right now. It's like you gotta either take a whatever or get off the pot. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right. Yeah. Coach Lynn in the chat says, "Who will Gannon have on this defensive staff is more important to me." That's the great question, right, Coach? Like, who does he want to bring with him? Now, we could comb through the Arizona Cardinals coaching staff that after they got canned and say, okay, who was like his right-hand man and all that. I imagine if they don't get hired, if DeMarcus Covington and Derek Ansley don't get hired, I imagine they would stay. You've got Ryan Downer, I think, is still on the staff, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong there. And now Hafley is going to be looking to poach as well, right? So I think we're kind of waiting on that to unfold as well. But it's very interesting, Coach. It is, man. Like, who would he be willing to bring in? It might be some names that we've heard in the past. It was part of the Eagles staff. It could be.
And the fact that he has experience at the head coaching level also gives him a leg up when it comes to formulating a staff. Mm-hmm. You look at Jeff Hafley. I mean, this is his first crack at being a head coach in the NFL, right? He's got to try and set up his staff down there. I'm sure he'll do just fine, but I do like the fact that Gannon's kind of been there and done that. This is not his first rodeo trying to pick his chess pieces to move forward.
Agree.
Absolutely. Greg Capel, hope I'm saying that right. Capel, I had your name before. I think it's Capel, right, Greg? Forgive me if I'm wrong, sir. I think Gannon brings more in-game adjustment instead of stubbornly forcing a scheme that doesn't fit the players. It will be interesting to see how he deploys Van Ness and Oliver, also Sorrell, right? Now, as I'm reading that, Greg, the first thing that came to mind for me was Jason Wilde reporting that one of the things that the players were very vocal with them on from the locker room was that Joe Barry he may listen to the players and take, I'll listen to you, but he never took anything and applied it, right? He didn't take the players' opinion too seriously. Now, they said Jeff Hafley may not always agree with the opinion they give, and he may not always do it, but he did seem to listen to the players a little bit more and kind of help them, help put them in a spot where they're most comfortable, right? So maybe Gannon brings a little more of that, like you said, in-game adjustment instead of stubbornly just going, here's what we're doing. Now, Matt got involved, and we went from strictly quarters coverage under Joe Barry, and we switched to middle field close most of the time. So that's what really changed there. And some of that can get tricky with the calls and the splits and everything.
You got to have good corners if you're going to play middle field close. Your outside corners better handle biz.
I'm excited when we get into our draft coverage aspect of the cornerbacks. Like, we're still hitting on offensive line, and we're going to hit some rookies that we have on have our eyes on in terms of potential draft picks to bolster the offensive line. I'm excited to dig into some of the corners as well here. Obi-Wan Zamboni. I hope I've got that right.
Love that name. I love it.
All right. I don't hate the Clay idea, says him. All right. So he's not, not overly negative or anything. He seems to be on board. Random Post 11 says everybody making snap, quote, worst hire ever, armchair quarterback fools. Media reports on Leonard are simply reports for clicks. The Packers aren't stupid. Enjoy the ride. Here we go. So he seems to be on board with the hire here. And listen, I got to be honest with you. You're really not going to try to convince us that people are having emotional snap decisions right now, right? You really going to
happening? Is that really happening? Packer fans don't do that. That never
seen that in my life. guys.
Appreciate you, buddy. Kyle Andretti says, not going to lie, you guys are getting me a little bit excited about the hire. I didn't like it at first. And, as you sit back and kind of think about it, Kyle, you can see the pros and cons. Listen, I want to be very clear. This thing may crash and burn, right? We may go backwards. Nobody's saying that this is a slam dunk hire, but you try to look at it through the lens of what the coach is, what Ed Policy's looking at here with this hire and everything. You go, you know what? Makes a lot of sense. We're wanting a more veteran team because we're tired of the mental mistakes, right? Well, now you got a guy who's been a head coach and has had success as DC, and he's been a coach pretty much his whole adult life. And what I mean by that is he had a hip injury in college that basically ended his career. He was a defensive backs player at the University of Louisville, and now all of a sudden – it's just most guys, you go, okay, let's take a few years off, right? Like, this is devastating. I need to reset. No, he said next year, okay, I can't play. I want to coach. And he just stayed in the game, right? So that goes a long way with me too there, Kyle. And there's a video on
grown-ass man now. Yeah.
I'm afraid to show the video because if somebody posted on YouTube, we get hit with a flag or whatever. But there's a video of Jonathan Gannon, and I don't know if it was in Green Bay or what. Jacob Morley retweeted it out, but somebody on the sideline said something, and Jonathan Gannon's driving down the street, and it looked like it was cold outside. It might have been recent, I don't know. But he rolls down his window, and I think he says something like, let's gut these MFers, and rolls the window back up. Like, he's very intense in that regard. And it's easy to look at him, and I seen the quirky tape of the video of him, talking to the team, trying to get them fired up and everything. And I agree that was awkward. But the reality is, you look at this dude, he's played the game, and I think he is going to be someone that the players respect. They're not going to look at him. Honestly, guys, I worried with Jeff Hafley coming in, whether or not players are going to respect him, because he doesn't look like a football player. He doesn't look like a guy who's played the game. He doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, all right, this is a dude that if I'm walking down a dark alley one night, that's the guy I want in my hip pocket to throw a punch.
You said the same about Matt though, too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. But the reality is, I think it's a perfect parallel. What have they done success-wise? Look at what Jeff Hafley did as a coordinator, right? It was phenomenal. It was great, right? So, you got to kind of throw that out the window. But when you got players that are, when you're out there at practice and training camp, and it's nothing like it used to be from what, former players talking about. But when you're like, these guys are asking for every ounce of everything you got, I think it makes it a little bit easier to look over at a guy who's, one, in shape. I love Coach Mike, but that always bothered me. Like, it's hard for me to imagine a coach telling a player to absolutely kill themselves out there on the football field, trying to just completely exhaust every bit of energy they got. And you look at him like, when was the last time you were on a treadmill, dude? And I love Coach Mike, but that's a real thing that goes on.
It's kind of like the Andy Reid thing, too. It's like, I love cheeseburgers. It's like,
I love cheeseburgers, too, Coach, but you ain't going to make me a bunch of friends, So I think some of that stuff comes into play. And when they see Jonathan Gannon, knowing that he has played before, I think it's a big deal. I do, man. So I know he didn't make it to the NFL, but again, another guy who's had to deal with injuries, and I think he'll be able to relate with players on that regard as well. Packer Doug says, to Tim's point, you could lose both Gannon and Leonard. Exactly. And then what? Yep. Now you're on to
Then we are looking at an Al Harris, or we are looking at, bringing in another first year opportunity DC. And I just, hey, that could have gone well too. You never know, but I like this approach better. Make your move. If you can't get your first pick, get your second one, get the hire done, and let's move forward.
I've got breaking news here, guys. You ready for this?
Oh,
nothing crazy important, but
you got that.
The most important fan, Packer fan.
There we go.
Most important Packer fan on the face of the earth, Mandy, texted me earlier in the kitchen before I went live, and she said, "Damn it." And I texted back and said, "What's wrong?" She's upstairs, by the way. I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Al Harris." And I put LOL. She says, "Don't laugh at me. All my hopes and dreams disappeared." So if you want to know what I got to deal with here in a little bit, all these toxic fans you see on X right now, I've got to go deal with it in my house here in a second because she's going to be upset too. So pray for me.
I have that in my heart too. We all wanted that story. Right?
I did too.
How cool
it's
would
weird
that
that
have
I
been,
did
right?
like it.
Of course. Yeah. But however, I think we're going to be okay with this hire moving forward. We just got to digest this information. And, like Coach Len was saying, hey, how is this staff going to come together? That's going to be the real thing to watch right here going forward.
Yep.
definitely. Kyle Andretti says, do you see us adding Devin Lloyd in free agency? Would love it, but not getting my hopes up. I don't think it would be at the top of the priority list, Kyle. I like Devin Lloyd. I would prefer Devin Lloyd over Quay, me personally. I'm probably in the minority with that opinion, but I would prefer that. However, it's not a top priority. And here's what I mean by that. When you look at what happened last year and how did we fall short, right? We did this the year before against Philly. We got our asses kicked in the trenches. So we're like, hey, we got to get better up front on the offensive line. So Goody goes out. Goody agreed. Now, whether he did a good job or not, that doesn't look like he did a good job, right? You go get Anthony Belton in the second round. He graded out in the 40s, and the efficiency grade and everything was down as well. And I know there's some people that grade the tape and they say he did good and this. I got you. I don't think he's as bad as PFF graded him out, but I don't think he's as good as some other people thinks he played, right? So hopefully he takes a year or two step. But Aaron Banks, swing and a miss. So I feel like that still applies. Coming down the stretch here, we were not good enough on the offensive line. So I feel like you've got to take another swing. You got to reset. Probably need to move on from Aaron Banks with the post-June cut. Probably need to move on from Elton Jenkins. Reset. My top choice would be Tyler Linderbaum. If he's available. There's a couple other centers that kind of catch my attention. Maybe you build through the draft in that regard as well. But offensive line would be my top priority. Behind that, I would probably say cornerback. However, you guys know I'm always down for a 3-tech. If you look up and you're in the second round or somehow, some way it's early in the second round and there's a dominant 3-tech that you got a first round grade on, like, man, we'd love to have him. I'd be okay with him trading up and getting him. I would. But for me right now, if you could tell me Devontae Wyatt's going to stay healthy all year long, right? I would say let's really focus on the offensive line, get me a center and get me a left guard is what I'm mainly focused on. I'm okay with Anthony Belton licking his wounds along the way and trying to get better, right? But Jordan Morgan at left tackle, get me a left guard, get me a center top priority, and let's go and try to get a cornerback as well.
What do you think?
Because when you look at it on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Stackbacker is not the first place I want to look to improve. I mean, I don't think our defense took any steps backwards because of middle linebacker play. I think we do need to look at corner. We do need to look at 3-tech, trenches. Obviously, we feel good about our safety room, but, Devin Lloyd is one of those guys that would he'd be a great addition. Don't get me wrong. Like, to your point, Clay, maybe some people like him more than, keeping Quay here in the mix. But if you're going to make a swing in free agency, we got to be looking at a center. We got to be looking at trenches first,
Yeah. Tim, to that point, that's why I just was about to highlight before you made that comment. Dope Inc. by Tony B said Quay had better numbers than Lloyd, if I remember correctly. If you're talking numbers as far as tackles, that's maybe true. I don't know. I don't have that obviously in front of me, but I would argue very hard that Lloyd had a better season just overall as far as what he did being in that stackbacker type, middle linebacker, green dot, that kind of guy. I know, Tim, I know you love Quay. I love Quay too. I love the possibility of what he could have been in Green Bay. I just feel like that it never came to fruition. I do think that I honestly do believe that when he goes somewhere else, which I think will probably happen, unfortunately, he's going to probably be a great player. It's just because maybe some guys need a little more time to kind of develop as to, into the best position they can do in the NFL. And I think Quay is going to be a great NFL middle linebacker somewhere. I just don't feel like it's probably going to be in Green Bay.
I'm just thinking, were they the same draft class?
I think they were. Yeah. People were saying that we actually
1 year apart. Yeah.
I think they were saying that we actually, somebody said the other day in the comments, it may be inaccurate, that we actually chose Quay over Devin. I don't know if that's true or not, but okay. I want to show you guys, this is the biggest thing here. Now, again, I'm not trying to dunk on whoever said that. Okay. Everybody looks at different stats differently, right? And what's more important to them. There's things that I focus on. I could give a rat's ass about tackles. I focus on stops.
Yeah.
Stops, hustle stops. Those are the big things for me. And obviously it's a passing league, passer rating when targeted. This is qualified defenders only, stack backers across the league, NFL Pro data here. Devin Lloyd was second in the league with a 51.2 passer rating when targeted. He was dominant in coverage. dominant in coverage. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect Quay, but since we're comparing two different players here, right? I want you to look how far we got to go down this list for passer rating when targeted. Okay.
Let's keep going to the next page, brother.
Got to go to the next page. Quay Walker, again, the other was third, right? Quay finished 86th with a 105.6. Okay. Now, that's not everything, right? It's only one stat. And I'm going to try to get back here to the first page. Let's see what he did in stops. And I have not checked in stops, okay? Because the passer rating when targeted really piqued my interest with Devin Lloyd. Because, again, people see this, and we had it said earlier today, and everybody can differ on their opinion. But people they're watching the game on TV, and they'll literally say, why are we playing off the ball? Why are we playing off? The reality is the defensive coordinators aren't going, hey, guys, don't worry about it. Wait till they get 8 yards down the field. They're not reading and recognizing quick enough. Coach Lynn will attest to this. There's no defensive coordinator out there calling goes, hey, guys, play. They said it with Joe Barry, and it drove me crazy. It's like, we know what the call is. You could tell. You could watch the tape and see what the call is. That dude did not shoot his shot. That's on him. That ain't on the defensive call in that play. We've seen guys. How many times did we see a big play, an explosive pass, and guys will look around each other throwing their hands up because they didn't – like, what are you doing, dude?
Players got to play, man.
That's kind of like that Al Harris type thing, knowing when you have to jump the route. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So stops, let's see where he fell in stops here. Make sure we're at linebacker. We are. And, again, I haven't looked this. Maybe Quay has more stops. I don't know. There's one of his teammates. Where is Lloyd at? Devin Lloyd. Probably shouldn't do this live on the air if you want to hit another comment because I don't know exactly where he's at. So it looks like he's on page 2 of the stops at least, unless I overlooked it there. But go ahead, hit another comment. Oh, no, here he is. 72nd. So he was 72nd in stops. Now,
where's Quay on stops?
If you're wondering what a stop is, let me explain what a stop is. A stop is when a player makes a tackle and it results in a negative play for the defense. Not negative yards, but negative in terms of EPA. Okay, so it means it's a positive play for the defense, and this is the guy who actually made that play happen. Okay, Devin Lloyd finished 36th amongst stack backers. Keep in mind there's some edge defenders mixed in here too with the way NFL Pro does their data. Quay Walker on stops, and he may have been higher, but I just want to make sure if he isn't. So there's not another page. So qualified defenders only, he's not there. So maybe he is on the first page. Let's check real quick.
I don't think I've seen him.
There he
is. Yeah.
So he's 33rd in stops. Okay. So Quay finished.
We figured it out, right? So Lloyd's the better cover backer, maybe. That's your guy. You want running down the field after a tight end. He might be the leg up there, but when Quay does shoot his shot, we've always talked about him maybe hesitating a little bit or thinking too much sometimes. But when he does, he's getting the stops. So,
54 stops. So he's 33rd best. Now, again, when you look at that, when you compare the two, you got one that's great at pass coverage, top 3 at pass coverage, right? And the other one is top 33, right? Nowhere near top 3. So I would have to put more value on Devin Lloyd, me personally, than I would Quay Walker. Because, again, I don't look up and think, damn, our run defense needs to be better. I'm just tired of guys getting burnt in coverage. That's cornerbacks. That's linebackers as well. And this has gone on for a while. That's why I say Goody always gets a pass, and it drives me crazy. Like, this is the same stuff, blowing coverages that was happening under Joe Barry, under Mike Pettin. And it's like there's one thing that's been here the entire time, right? So Coach Lynn says
if you're depending solely on stack backers to, stop the run, you've got bigger issues, right? This is why we talk about trench warfare being so important. I would hate that we would take a swing at a linebacker in free agency before we go out and find somebody for that defensive line.
And as Coach Lynn says here, Lloyd created more turnovers also. Absolutely. Lloyd actually led the league in interception for stack backers with 5 picks, right? So, again, way better in coverage. Quay's probably better in run defense. That's why I wouldn't put overall value on both of these guys, either of these guys. Like, that's a priority. We need to have them back. I think your best bet would be build the trenches, center, guard, grab a 3-tech if you see a great one fall out of the damn sky, which probably won't happen in free agency, right? And then, of course, focus on cornerback as well is the way I would approach this. I would rather see McDuffie out there and us get Linderbaum than for us to go find Devin Lloyd and we got Sean Ryan starting center. You know what I mean?
What do you guys
and then
think
let
about
Tyron Hopper continue to grow too. Give him an opportunity to get some snaps. Yep.
What do you guys think about this comment from You Got to Be Kidding Me? One says that's why Goot needs to prioritize football players over RAS guys.
It could be a problem. That could be an issue. Now we've seen him go a little bit lower on RAS here lately, and you got two different camps, right? A portion of the fan base thinks he only focuses on RAS, and then the other portion is completely opposed to that mindset. I would rather. To me, the tape means more than anything. Like what you put on tape, great. Now, if you've got a cluster of guys, you watch the tape and you go, these three stack backers are the same tier. All right, now let's go to the RA. Let's go to the RA. Who's got the better athletic profile? But the thought of taking a guy because he ran faster in his underwear, but the tape is bad, as opposed to someone who's a damn thumper like a Spillane or somebody that's like, that's a football player. That dude's.
We want football players. We don't, they're all athletes. We want football players.
Yeah. And again, you may be passing up on higher upside with a player that's got a higher RAS like that, right? But in the moment, I want somebody who can diagnose the play quicker. This is the perfect example. Quay Walker is a physical freak, right? I remember when they signed him or when they drafted him. When they drafted him, it surprised a lot of people, but it was mentioned later that week that he's skyrocketing up boards because information was leaking out. There were several teams that thought higher of him than most people did, right? Because he was a physical freak. Now, again, you roll the dice. I think it was a miss, me personally, and I'm not saying I'm right and anybody else is wrong. I think it was a miss, but I can see why you would fall in love with a player like Quay's a physical freak. And like Jacob said, he may go somewhere else. 2 years down the road, he's the best linebacker in the game. I can't rule that out. But based off what we've seen to this point, I would be okay with bringing him back at the right price. I just don't want to do it for like Tim was saying, maybe a team's willing to give him $15 million, or something like that. Right?
So, Tim, what's your break point? Like, what's your number to bring Clay?
I don't know, man.
I know you love him. I know you
do the GM thing.
Let's say you have to go
hard deal,
15 per.
But hold on though. This is still, this is my boy. I'm gonna stick up for him.
I know you.
You get one shot, man. You got to get your money. Playing in the NFL for more than a year or two is a blessing, and you're off your rookie deal. You got a chance. I think someone's going to pay him something north of $15 million per year. I don't think the Packers would do that. If he's willing to be around 10, then we're talking something different maybe. But I don't see him doing that. I don't see him taking less money if more money's on the table.
I said around.
And that's just a business thing. It's got nothing to do with feelings or anything. Let's simple math. Do you want 20 million a year or do you want 10 million a year?
Yeah, I said 8 or 9. That was my kind of.
I don't think Quay is going to take an $8 or $9 million a year contract.
I don't think so either.
He may have to,
Yeah. Well, if it comes down to that, that might be great. And then he does stay a Packer, but I think someone might pay him.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if somebody breaks the bank for him, and I also wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of like Josh Myers where he hits the market. We went, whoa, he didn't get anything.
Right.
It's a similar situation as that, I believe. Packer Doug says, again, in week 7, the Cardinals held the Packers to 179 yards passing and 94 yards rushing. That's really good. So, obviously, it's one of those things Matt LaFleur probably looks over like, man, that was really tough playing his defense. If you can't beat them, join them, right? Hire them. So, it'd be like that. Packer superfan Mike here says, how do you see the starting lineup getting older, assuming we lose Rashid, Quay, and Dobbs in free agency and possible cuts of Banks and Gary? What projected young are we replacing?
That's a great question.
This
is the problem, right? This is the problem. And I'll tell you the answer. You've got to sign veteran players. It's the only way it's going to happen. And you guys, I know I can tell by the looks on your face, it's going to be highly, highly, highly unlikely that Goody goes out and gets a 30-year-old offensive lineman or a 32-year-old this or a Calais Campbell, right?
Campbell. Yeah.
Not going to do it. Goody DiCaprio is not going to do it. So all these people that are saying, get rid of Gary, right? I'm saying I wouldn't resign unless it's the right number, right? Now, I did say I want to bring Romeo Dobbs back. People laughed at me on Twitter. They were like, you lost your mind if you think Romeo – because we need to get Matthew Golden more snaps. Okay, your receiver room just got younger. And I want Matthew Golden to get all the snaps. I think he's going to be phenomenal. But what's going to happen is if you don't go out and you're willing to sign some of these veteran players that are free agents that you look up and go, yeah, what's he got, a year or two left? And this might be Yeah, like,
Get
okay.
him. Let's get those 2 years out of him.
You can continue to go out there, and I'm not saying Mike's saying it. Maybe he is. I don't know. We can all agree to disagree on that. But if it's okay, we're going to cut these guys loose. If the excuse, and I'm not saying Mike's making this excuse, but I can already see it kind of going on social media. If the excuse is, well, we had to move on from Rasheed Walker, we had to move on from Rashawn Gary or Quay Walker or Banks or whatever, so we had to get younger. Okay, that's cool. We got younger. We got the youngest roster in the league again. Awesome. Do not get mad at me when we come in here at training camp and I goes, boys, got the youngest roster again. Understand there's not a team in the history of the freaking Super Bowl that's won the championship with the youngest roster. Not saying it's impossible. It's exactly what I said last year. Not saying it's impossible, but don't get mad at me when we get to week 16 or 17 and I go, boys, probably ain't the year. It ain't looking like the year. Maybe we'll go on a run, but it ain't looking like the year. Because you got to have that veteran presence. You got to. And again, people were pointing out Seattle. Well, Seattle has the third youngest roster. Depends on what metric you're looking at, first of all. It's not as simple. And people will cherry pick that crap.
Yeah, because age versus experience can be different. It depends on your snaps and.
And of the final 8 teams, that were remaining, there were none of them that had the 10th youngest roster or lower. Now, again, well, how come the Seattle Seahawks have the third youngest in? That's because they're actually accounting for the number of snaps that were taken, right? The metric I look at is when you break training camp, what's the age of your roster? If you got the youngest roster breaking training camp, guess what's going to happen when the injuries happen? You're going to get even younger because you're going to have practice squad players. You're going to have backup players. That's why I'm saying I'm even okay with if you decide to move on from these guys and you go out and you draft a guy that you want to start, I'm okay with that. But how about when we get down to our fourth freaking center, we have a proven veteran that's sitting on the bench to go, okay, at least this guy's played a significant amount of snaps throughout his career, as opposed to Lasita Smith. And Lasita actually did okay, to be honest with you. He's probably going.
And he's not a center. Lasita Smith is not a center, right? He's a guard. Exactly. Yeah.
That blew my mind. And then they'll immediately get upset and they go, well, it was only one drive. Yeah, it was only the most important drive of the season that he had to play center. Right, gotcha. So, frustrating. But again, that wasn't a shot at Mike. I think Mike is like me. He's troubleshooting everything, going, all right, if we go this route and release these players, well, guess what? By default, you got to get younger. You got to go sign free agents. And
I think there's a good possibility that a lot of those players listed are, in fact, not Packers next year, right? We would all agree on that. So
Packer Doug says,
I like the point.
Yeah. Packer Doug says Lasita's catching strays on PTA, LOL. And here's what's hilarious.
No, we said he did really good for being a guard playing center, right?
Yeah, I'm getting to that. When he goes in the game, I looked at Mandy and I said, that's our fourth center. And she was like, what? I'm like, yeah, I said, Mandy, honey, I don't think this ball is going to hit Aaron or going to hit Jordan in the hands, like out of the snap. Like I honestly, and lo and behold, I was like, if there's one thing we learned about Lasita Smith, boy, the huevos on that guy, like the most important moment of the year, and they said just go over and play center. I thought he did pretty damn good, to be honest with you. The point is, anytime you get back to your fourth center on the depth chart and we're acting like we're supposed to win this game, I can't subscribe to that. I just can't. I can't do it, man. Can't do it. I've got to be realistic in that regard. I can't just there's extremes on both sides. Some people think that Goody and LaFleur can do no wrong, right? And then on the other side, you've got people that think they do everything wrong. I'm in the middle, man. I try to operate in the all right, what am I actually seeing on tape? What's actually happening? So, what are you laughing at, Jake? What you got? Is something you say?
He said, like grapefruits. Gotcha, Clay.
Exactly. Watermelons, sir. Watermelons. Okay. Forget the grapefruits. So, yeah, no, I was impressed. So, Tim, yeah, you're spot on there. Again, I remember my reaction looking at Mandy like, what do we expect this guy to come in and do right here? Like, it's pretty wild. So it's even wilder. I don't know, is that a right word? Wilder? I don't think it is. Anyway, it's even more. I don't know. It's just crazy to think that we have guys that are our backup center. This isn't a shot at Sean Ryan. We've seen it in the past. Hell, we've seen our starting center in Josh Myers.
Yeah.
Sometimes couldn't snap the ball accurately, right? Couldn't even snap the ball to the point where the quarterback's screaming on national television, Josh, snap the effing ball, right? But you got Lasita Smith that comes in that hasn't played center in how long, and he has no problem operating. It's like pretty wild. So anyway, More gooder. That's what I was looking for, Tony. You got it. More gooder.
More gooder.
There you go. Yeah, coach says he's in the middle as well. So
that's where you
right.
want to be, right? Because you don't want to get the other direction and be a team full of old geezers and not have any, young talent behind it. It's tough to achieve that balance. I think it really is.
Yeah. And let's see. Rob here says the 2014 New England Patriots, the average age of the roster was 25.2 years old. They won Super Bowl. They won Super Bowl. 2025 Packers 25.3. It's possible to win a Super Bowl with a young roster. Once again, the same as the dumbass on Twitter that said, well, Seattle got the third. I didn't say the third. I said the youngest. You're saying it's not impossible to win with a young roster. You also just went back how long ago? 11 years, 12 years, right? And notice it didn't say it was the youngest roster. It wasn't the youngest roster in the league. It wasn't. And also, is that the exception or is that the rule right there?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
I think 23.5 is that's not like that. That's average. I would argue it's probably the fact that we're like 23 years old. We got college kids in here,
I mean, the fact that they compared Indiana's age of their roster to ours was wild. It was like, dang.
And
we're
was
almost
accurate.
as young as the Indiana Hoosiers college roster, right? So, yeah. Again, nobody's saying you can't do it with a young roster. I do not want an old roster. I don't want the youngest roster. That's all I'm saying. Any chance, what it tells me is, all right, you got a choice here between this player and that player. And I actually asked Mark Tauscher this on Wildy and Tausch the other day. I called in and I asked him this. I said, Tauscher, if you find yourself in a situation with the game on the line, and you can see Wildy grinning, Wildy was loving it because, Tauscher never criticizes Goody. And I feel like, if anything, Wildy's pretty even keel. Wildy will criticize just about anybody that he feels like needs to be criticized. He covered a team forever. It's like 96, right? So I said, you're in the trenches. You're a player, right? And you got to choose between the players who's going to play on each side of you with the game on the line. Who are you taking? The first-year rookie, or are you taking the 7-year vet? What would you rather have next to you? And his answer was, well, all things being equal, I would want the vet. You can't just answer it, can you? You can't. Well, if this is a better younger player, I want him. Okay, so who is the better younger player you're referring to? What I wanted to ask was, who would you rather have alongside you? Would you rather have a rookie Anthony Belton, or would you rather have a 3-year or 4th-year player in Josh Sitton, or a 4th-year player in Scott Wells, whoever? Right? It don't even matter who the player is. Nobody in their profession can convince me that if you've got a deadline to hit, it's crunch time. You got to get this done, right? And they ask you, which employee would you like? The one who's got 10 years.
Bring the new guy in here.
Get the new guy in here. That guy that knows every trick of the trade about how we can accomplish this. Forget him. Get me the inexperienced guy. There's nobody's going to convince me that they're being honest saying that. So that's yeah.
True.
Random post with a stat here. In 2022, Gannon led the Eagles defense to 70 sacks. That stands out. Parsons must be liking that. And again, why? Why so many sacks? When you're playing quarters coverage, you got 7 in coverage and you're getting pressure with 4. That's the way I like to pressure the quarter. You guys know I get mad over 2 things: man coverage and blitzing. Because any quarterback that's got 2 brain cells to rub together, they'll know where the answer to the equation. I mean, look how Jordan Love played against the blitz. Not pressure, but the blitz, right? He picked it apart. Anytime they blitzed, I mean, look at what he did to Dennis Allen's defense in that final playoff game there against the Bears. I know we lost. 4 touchdowns, no picks. He was on fire, So,
do you think, just to ask your opinion on this?
Sorry. Hold that thought. Dave C. Perfect. Marco Rivera. Exactly. I should have said Marco Rivera, and Tal should have went. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Jacob. Sorry.
No, just I was just going to ask your opinion because obviously, like I said, you guys know the schemes, all that kind of stuff better than I do. When you're in that man coverage, almost like that press set, just a simple audible and somebody going in motion can kind of dictate what you're going to do on that defense, right? Isn't that like a little bit more indicative of like, we know what this defense is going to be? If you're if you're a reader of the defense, like obviously Aaron Rodgers was a brilliant component of that. He passed that knowledge down to Jordan. Don't you think that's easier for them to kind of manipulate that type of defense if that's the call they're going to make?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why we talk about the 4 most important aspects of a quarterback is accuracy, quick release, right? pre-snap read, post-snap read. And you've got quarterbacks that are in the league now where it's just pick a side. They don't trust them to read the entire defense out or make a pre-snap adjustment and truly diagnose pre-snap and then post-snap. No, oh crap, they sugared me. My one is going from the 2 on the right to the 3 on the left. Like knowing those things, those side adjustments, knowing like Aaron Rodgers has explained in the past, knowing where's the 3 tech lining up and where is the field side safety alignment. That'll like narrow down the defense to 3 or 4 choices. There's a lot of little keys like that come into play for sure. So yeah, no, it's if you show the same look pre-snap, then you're eliminating one of those things that a Peyton Manning did so well, where he could. You want to know how Bill Belichick beat Peyton in the playoffs? He owned him. They said they studied him. He would constantly change the play, right? They studied all of his tape that specific year that they dominated him. I want to say it was at a snowy Foxborough where it happened. But we're going way back early 2000s. They said they studied him, and he would make his check at a certain point. He had a time slot on the play clock that he liked to make his check. And Belichick made his defense say, show the same look pre-snap and don't go into your stance. Don't go into your place where you're going to, line up until it gets to this point. So Peyton would come out there, you look over the defense, Omaha, and he checked through his play. And then as soon as he get ready to snap the ball, they would adjust. And it's like nobody was where he thought they were going to be, right? So when you show a pre-snap shell, 2 on the shelf, quarters coverage, or if you play quarters in general, they can't gather any information from you on the front side. So you can be showing quarters, but you're really, as soon as the ball is snapped, you adjust to cover 1 man and you go middle field close with a drop or a robber or whatever. Like there's a number of different things you can do. And you're taking that pre-snap read away. That's why Aaron Rodgers, what his kryptonite was in Green Bay? It was 2 man under.
2 man under.
Yep.
Yeah. And what did he always say? You got to run them out of it. You got to check to a run, and you got to run the ball and get them out of that and get that safety back in the box where you can manipulate them a little bit. So, yeah. People are asking in the chat about stunts. I'm going to go try to look that up. You guys talk for a minute because I think I found a graphic the other day that showed how much each team stunted. So
I like the question. Did Gannon run a lot of stunts? I feel like Hafley didn't. I think last season he didn't. I think his first go around we saw more stunts and twists, I think, on the D line. I don't know what your thoughts are, Jacob. Did it seem like we did a little bit less of that?
I like what Dave said. It said stunts in quotations specifically, maybe not, but they did a lot of weird stuff with Parsons. I liked kind of what they did, like what Clayton talked about, like with doing the mug stuff, right? Where you would have a
Joker one.
Yeah, a Joker type look where you'd have guys that would come up and kind of like seemingly, pretend that they're about to rush. And honestly, like I'm more of an aggressive type player. Like if I was the head coach, I'd be like, send more than 4. That's kind of what I would do. Just, I don't know why. That's just kind of the way that I think about football. But like, I like the way they do it is because make them feel like that you're about to get blitzed to the point where they have to make a split-second decision to make that play work. Does that make what I'm saying?
I think most fans agree with you, Jacob. I disagree. I would rather not give them any information and let them be more likely to make a mistake. You're saying force a mistake with pressure, right? Like to be a little more aggressive. And that
I feel like more like Brian Flores is kind of like that guy. It's like, I want to make you think we're going to send my mother and my father again. Like we're sending everybody.
See, that's the thing with blitzing and pressuring, right? You usually get one of 2 results. Either it gets home and it's amazing, or you get your ass lit up. Right. And we've seen a lot of getting our ass lit up when we've been pressuring in the last part of the season,
Agree.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I see that Caterpillar super chat. I'm going to get to it in just a second. I want to answer that question that was asked. Caterpillar, thank you, buddy. We'll get to that in just a minute. So here's what I was looking for. Shout out to football _ insights over on X. You guys go give them a follow. It's an excellent follow. So this is the stunts, okay? This is the stunt percentage. So you'll notice here, they've got Arizona listed at the top in stunt percentage, okay? If I'm looking at it right, I guess that's overall is how they've got it listed, or is that maybe – no, that's actually alphabetical, so forget that. Let's look at the stunt percentage, though. On third downs, you see blitz, disguise, stunt. I assume that means disguise, but you definitely see the stunt there, right? So stunts at 18%, 17%. You're looking for the dark numbers is what you're looking for, okay? So when you look at this, there's not a whole lot of dark blue, right? It's kind of middle of the road, maybe if anything on the lower half. You see what I'm talking about at the top there? On first down, they blitz 22% of the time. I'm assuming the disguise. I guess that's what that means. I don't know. There's no key there. I don't know what else DISG would mean, but you see stunt at 17%. So 17%'s middle of the pack. All right. Stunt on second down, 18%, pretty much middle of the pack. And then stunt on third down at 42%. You see, it's not very dark blue. It's maybe a little more stunting on third down than second.
Stunting is a habit.
Yeah. Is that a song?
Is he the number one stunner? No, he's not the number one stunner.
I got to hit you with it, Tim.
Oh,
The nail polish remover. All right. So, or maybe I should have hit you with that one. That would have been better, wouldn't it? So, anyway, hopefully that answered everybody's question in terms of the stunts there. And I'll try to hold on. I'll try to do a little study. And we did that on the fly. I'd like to look into that a little bit deeper to see if we're understanding. I'm assuming that means the guys. I could probably ask them in the comments, but obviously not live on the air. Let me hit this super chat. We'll get ready to wrap up. I didn't plan to go an hour, but this has been fun. We got a bunch of people in here watching. Greatly appreciate it. But if you would spin those laces for us, hit like, hit subscribe if you're new here. Appreciate you making us a part of your afternoon with the breaking news, obviously with the new DC hire, Jonathan Gannon going to the Green Bay Packers. Caterpillar with the super chat. Thank you, sir. Just wanted to say I have my heart set on Leonard. Me too, by the way. Me too. But Gannon's defense in Philly was vicious, right? People are down on him because of his time in Arizona. But B-Flow had the same problem in Miami and went back to being one of the best DCs. That's
a great point.
That's a great point, man. That is a great point. If you removed his tenure in Arizona, you would say, imagine this. Let me put it this way. And I think that's a great comment, Caterpillar.
Yeah.
If he had not been the head coach in Arizona and he took a couple years off and he all of a sudden said, hey, Jonathan Gannon said, I'm getting back in football, guys. Anybody need a DC? He would be one of the top 3 candidates. Will we all agree? He'd be right there at the top of the list. I think that's great. And the same thing with B-Flow in Miami. Nobody holds that against him. He was a great defensive mind before he got the head coaching job in Miami. They obviously, that was very controversial. I've seen a lot of Packer fans didn't want Brian Flores because how controversial that became in Miami and everything. I understand that standpoint too. I don't know enough of the details behind the scenes to give a passionate opinion on it. But boy, he went back to Minnesota, or he went to Minnesota and he dominated, right? So yeah, it's hard to argue that comment, Caterpillar. Thank you for the generous donation there, man. We appreciate you, buddy. Yeah. So Professor Cake says, before we head out, fellas, what's everyone's predictions for today's games? Who y'all got? What do y'all think, boys? How we feeling about these conference?
Jacob's cringing already. I don't know, Jim.
I'll give you my picks. I think the Patriots win it because if Bo Nix was playing for the Broncos, I think that might be the game of the year. Now, listen, is there a chance Sean Payton pulls out the magic wand?
If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Sean Payton.
They said that Stidham was his first person he brought over when he got that job. So
and what's crazy is Stidham is kind of well known for being a Patriot too. He was like that solid backup Patriot for a while, right? Like he was that dude in the background there. So yeah, I still, if I had to pick, I'm going Patriots. It is on the road. We know that. And then in terms of the NFC, I think this is Seattle's year, man. Seattle's defense is
just crazy, dude. They do. That's what the chat's kind of saying right here.
Yeah. You never know, though. Never know.
It'll be so fun to watch, Sean McVay put together a game plan and watch Puka and Tay go out there with Matt and try and beat that Seattle defense. Really, honestly,
get Tay a ring. Let's go. I'm just saying.
Yeah, my heart wants the Rams to win today for obvious reasons, right?
Yes.
But my brain is telling me it's probably good. I'm probably with you, Clay. I think it's probably Seattle's year. And I would agree with you on the AFC side, too, that I would give a slight advantage to New England. I think New England probably gets out of there with a win. Not a super comfortable win necessarily, but they'll probably win.
Right. And I'm definitely pulling for the Patriots. I'm definitely pulling for the Rams, just so we're clear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like Vrabel. I love the fact that Vrabel was very similar to Matt LaFleur, right? He had success. Tennessee didn't appreciate it. They ran his ass out of town. New England swooped him up the next year, and bam, they're in the AFC Championship. I really feel like if we had fired Matt LaFleur, that's exactly what would have happened. He'd have went somewhere else and had instant success. So, random post says Devontae representing the Packers. He probably will wear Packers underoos. So, unbelievable. This show sucks so bad.
Wash your hands, wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
Miss that man.
And I know I'm excited about having Tucker Kraft back next year, boys. But I will say I do appreciate this drop here from this year.
Oh, Tucker is in a better place.
Oh, Romeo.
Am I the only one hoping? I know this is bad to say. Oh, I know. I feel like a horrible human being. But I'm just hoping the market ain't there like they're saying for Romeo and he comes back to the Packers, man. That would be awesome. But
Hey, you heard him on Kay Adams. He was very quick to remind everyone that, the money. He said, I just want to play football. You could tell he wants to be somewhere where he's valued and, wants to just play ball. I don't think it's going to come down to dollars and cents too much. But then again, that's also up to his representation, right?
Sometimes those dollars make sense.
Sometimes the player, it's very little involvement in the dollars and cents discussion. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, Kay Adams, what's up? I'm just saying.
Jacob always.
You do that, you're going to get your ass kicked in that.
No, it's more like this, Tim. Jacob said, AK Adams.
Scared money don't make money.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't have enough. Yeah.
All right. We got our drops in, all of them in the last 2 minutes, right? So no, I think Jacob will holler at Kay and be like,
how about these hands?
All right, guys. Jeepers, creepers.
And then Kay will probably tell him,
sit your butt outside.
Hey, golly. All right, I'm just sitting here.
Jacob finally gets his opportunity with Kay. Got a nice little dinner planned, and all of a sudden,
Cheese curds make my stomach hurt all the time, but I do eat them though.
got them bubble
I
gut.
shot my shot, bro. I'm just.
You think God never farted?
That's all we got, guys.
Get ready to go.
All right, so we're out of here. Appreciate. Oh, we got one more super chat. See, this is how y'all get me divorced, right? Caterpillar with the super. Thank you. Did y'all see the Packers video in training camp asking players what's something that's underrated? Dobbs said, "Not talking." Bro, Dobbs was my favorite. Was when he looked like he was eating a candy bar walking down the hall, and he just kept shrugging.
Yep.
It was so cool to see him come out of that shell, man. It was awesome. So, I know this. Wherever Dobby goes, as long as they're not playing the Packers, I'm gonna be rooting for that guy. I will come up off the couch for that dude.
Amen.
I'm holding out hope that Malik Willis and Romeo Dobbs end up in Miami. That would be just absolutely awesome.
Green Bay 2.0.
Oh yeah, dude. That would
Green Bay, South Beach.
There you go. You go. All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. So again, we talked about this earlier today. If you guys want to see the breaking news version when we first found out that Jonathan Gannon is going to be the new DC, you can find that here on the YouTube channel. I wanted to reset with the guys, say, hey, let's take a second, let's take a breather. Let's pull up the Philly numbers from when he was the DC, and let's have a conversation and include the chat. I don't get to do that a lot, so greatly appreciate everybody in the chat. Caterpillar, thank you for the super chats, man. You're too kind. And everybody in the chat, y'all were awesome. Do us a big favor, hit like, hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on the future live streams. We will be back tomorrow. I'm going to go watch some playoff football. We got prime rib today. Your boy about to get his cholesterol up today. I'm excited about it. All right. So everybody enjoy the games, and we will see y'all tomorrow. I'm Clayton. That's Tim. That's Jacob. Kay Adams. That is Jacob. Okay. Just so you know. This is PTA.
Hi,
Okay.
Kay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Bye, guys.